I thought I knew loneliness until he looked at me like that. Not my husband, not my son, but his friend, Logan. That night, when his shoulder brushed mine in the kitchen, something in me trembled. I should have walked away. I should have said no, but instead, I held my breath and whispered, "Please, not yet." In that moment, everything began to crack. Quietly, dangerously. A glance became a touch. Presence became temptation. And what once couldn't be said became impossible to ignore. If you're drawn into this tension, don't forget to subscribe to Vows and Betrayals, where a true infidelity story unfolds daily, because some truths aren't meant to stay buried. From the outside, my life in the suburbs appeared flawless, a shimmering facade hiding the shadows lurking beneath. In the heart of a picturesque neighborhood stood a home, its manicured lawn a facade of perfection, the shimmering pool in the backyard reflecting secrets beneath its surface. A devoted husband, relentless in his pursuit, toiled day and night, weaving a tapestry of sacrifice to shield us from the shadows that lurked just beyond our idyllic existence. Our son, Aiden, stood on the precipice of adulthood at just 21, poised to graduate from college, a beacon of untapped potential and dreams waiting to unfold. To the outside world, we were the picture-perfect family, a facade so flawless it could shatter at any moment. Yet, lurking behind the sealed doors of our seemingly flawless abode, a tempest brewed, shattering the illusion of perfection. My husband, Tom, was a ghost in our own home, haunting the shadows of his work, while the flickering screens of his phone and TV held him captive, leaving me in a chilling silence. The warmth that once enveloped our marriage had been extinguished, leaving only a haunting silence in its wake. I wandered through my own home, a mere specter of the person I once was, lost in the shadows of what used to be. On that seemingly tranquil Saturday afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky, I felt an unsettling shift in the air. The moment I first truly noticed Logan. He was Aiden's closest ally, a charming and poised young man whose presence had lingered for months, shrouded in an air of mystery and unspoken tension. Never had I cast him a second glance, but on that fateful day, an unseen force stirred within me, igniting a tension that crackled in the air. Under the sweltering sun, Aiden extended an invitation to Logan, a seemingly innocent gesture that would soon unravel into a web of secrets and unspoken tension as they prepared to plunge into the depths of the unknown. As I lingered in the kitchen, a fleeting glance through the sliding glass doors revealed them, their laughter echoing like a haunting melody by the pool, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. Logan stood at the water's edge, his chiseled form shimmering under the relentless gaze of the sun, a tension in the air that hinted at secrets yet to be unveiled. He plunged into the depths with a grace that belied the tension in the air, emerging from the shadows with a grin that was both disarming and electrifying. In that brief, heart-stopping instant, my gaze was ensnared, unable to break free from the gripping scene before me. It wasn't merely his looks. It was the magnetic energy he exuded, a stark contrast to my husband's weary and preoccupied presence. A long-buried sensation, dormant for years, began to awaken within me, igniting a fire I thought had long been extinguished. I forced myself to shake it off and resumed the monotonous task of washing dishes. Yet my thoughts relentlessly spiraled back to him, each memory a haunting echo that refused to fade. As the days turned into weeks, an unsettling presence began to loom over our home. Logan's visits grew increasingly frequent, shrouding our lives in an air of mystery and anticipation. In the dimly lit garage, he and Aiden pushed their limits, the air thick with tension as they lifted weights, their breaths heavy with determination. As night fell, the flickering glow of the screen drew them into a world of competition, their laughter mingling with the thrill of victory and the sting of defeat. By the pool, shadows danced under the moonlight, the water whispering secrets as they lounged, each moment charged with unspoken possibilities. With each visit, the weight of his presence grew heavier, his voice echoing in my mind, his laughter haunting the corners of my thoughts, and his scent clung to the air like a ghost, refusing to fade even after he had vanished into the shadows. On a fateful afternoon, as Aiden dashed toward the store, the door swung open, and Logan stepped inside, thirsting for a drink. But little did they know, the air was thick with unspoken tension, and the shadows held secrets waiting to unfold. As I stood in the kitchen, the aroma of dinner swirling around me, a shadow loomed in the doorway, sending a chill down my spine. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his deep voice slicing through the silence like a knife. "Mind if I grab some water?" The unexpectedness of his tone sent a shiver down my spine. "Of course, Logan," I replied, my voice steady, though a storm brewed beneath the surface, threatening to unravel the calm facade I desperately clung to. "But in this moment, I implore you, simply refer to me as Vanessa." His smile, a dazzling flash of charm, held secrets that danced just beneath the surface, beckoning curiosity and intrigue. "Thank you, Vanessa." As he extended his hand toward the glass, a fleeting touch ignited an electric tension between us, a moment suspended in time, fraught with unspoken possibilities. In that brief, seemingly trivial moment, a jolt coursed through my veins, igniting a fire of uncertainty and anticipation within me. I recoiled in a flash, praying he remained oblivious to the way my breath caught in my throat. Apologies escaped his lips, accompanied by a low, unsettling chuckle that lingered in the air, thick with tension. "It's fine," I whispered, my cheeks igniting with a heat that lingered in the air as he slipped away from the kitchen, leaving an unsettling silence in his wake. I pressed my back against the cold counter, desperately seeking solace as my mind spiraled into a tempest of racing thoughts, each one more frantic than the last. What was the darkness that lurked within me? In the twilight of my 40s, bound by the vows of marriage, I found myself ensnared in a web of forbidden desire, my cheeks aflame with the intoxicating allure of a man half my age. As darkness enveloped the world, and silence reigned in the house, I found myself alone by the pool, the moon casting an ethereal glow that shimmered and flickered on the water's surface, whispering secrets only the night could hold. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting obsession, a trivial spark that would extinguish with the passing days. Yet within the shadows of my heart, I understood the truth all too well. As the days dragged on, an insidious tension coiled within me, refusing to be silenced. Each moment only deepened the storm of emotions I desperately sought to contain. Logan was not merely handsome. He possessed an intensity that drew you in, a gaze that lingered, as if he held the secrets of the universe within his attentive eyes. He observed the subtle shifts, the pregnant pauses that hung in the air before I dared to respond, the smiles that danced on my lips yet failed to ignite the spark in my eyes. One fateful evening, as I meticulously folded laundry by the living room window, a sudden sound pierced the air. Aiden and Logan were outside, their laughter mingling with the rhythmic thud of a basketball, echoing like a heartbeat in the stillness. Little did I know, that seemingly innocent moment would soon unravel into something far more intense. Their shirts lay discarded, revealing glistening bodies slick with sweat, a testament to the oppressive summer heat that hung heavily in the air. My mind wrestled with the task at hand, yet my gaze was irresistibly drawn to Logan, a magnetic force pulling me into a web of uncertainty. Then it happened. He caught me watching, and in that moment, the air thickened with tension, a chilling realization dawning upon me. My heart raced as I felt the weight of his gaze, a silent confrontation that promised consequences I could scarcely imagine. He smiled, a smile that was not merely friendly, but one that held a depth of understanding, a hint of mischief lurking beneath the surface. My heart raced, a relentless drumbeat echoing in my ears as I averted my gaze, desperately feigning focus on the mundane task of laundry. Moments later, he lingered by the open window, his voice tinged with an enigmatic quality that sent shivers down my spine. "Vanessa, you must step into the light more often. Seek the warmth of the sun's embrace." I willed a smile onto my face, a fragile mask concealing the turmoil within. "I'm fine right here," yet his words hung in the air, heavy and haunting, refusing to fade away. It wasn't merely the words that escaped his lips. It was the way they sliced through the air, laden with an unspoken dare, igniting a tension that crackled like electricity. As the shadows deepened and the last remnants of daylight faded, I busied myself with the remnants of dinner, unaware of the storm that was about to unfold. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and Logan stepped into the kitchen, his presence sending a chill down my spine. "Do you require assistance?" he inquired, his voice laced with an unsettling urgency. "No, I've got it," I insisted, my eyes deliberately avoiding his piercing stare. Yet he remained, a shadow in the dim light, defying the very urge to escape. Instead, he pressed his back against the counter, his gaze locked onto me, a silent tension hanging in the air. "You work too hard," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the weight of his words could shatter the fragile silence that enveloped them. "At long last, it's time for someone to step into the shadows and tend to your needs, to unravel the tangled web of your solitude and offer the care you so desperately deserve." Time stood still as I felt the cold fabric of the dish towel tighten in my grasp, a shiver racing down my spine. It had been an eternity since anyone had dared to address me in such a way. The moment hung heavy in the air, a palpable tension that begged for release. I could have shattered the silence, turned on my heel, and severed the fragile thread binding us. I could have spoken the words that would unravel everything, but instead, I stood frozen, paralyzed by the weight of my own choices. On that fateful night, when the world as I knew it began to unravel, my husband and Aiden found themselves lost in the electrifying chaos of a basketball game in the heart of the city. The house lay shrouded in an eerie silence, as if it held its breath, waiting for something to break the stillness. Logan lingered in the shadows, his voice barely above a whisper, as he declared his indifference to the world of sports. But beneath that calm facade, a tempest brewed, hinting at secrets untold and choices yet to be revealed. I accepted it without hesitation. As I nestled into the couch, the pages of my book lay untouched, my mind a swirling fog of distraction. Suddenly, like a specter emerging from the shadows, Logan materialized in the doorway, his presence sending a shiver down my spine. With a glint of mischief in his eyes, he inquired, raising a glass of water as if it held the secrets of the universe. I nodded, the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air, a silent agreement that echoed with unspoken tension. He sat beside me, a mere breath away, closer than he had ever dared to be. The atmosphere crackled with tension, heavy and electric, as if the very air was alive with an unspoken truth waiting to erupt. "You seem nervous," he said, his voice low and laced with an unsettling intensity, breaking the heavy silence that hung between them. I uttered the words, "I'm fine." But deep within, a storm brewed. My hands betrayed me, trembling ever so slightly, a silent testament to the turmoil raging inside. With a swift motion, he seized the book from my trembling hands, the weight of its pages heavy with secrets, and set it down on the table with a finality that echoed in the stillness of the room. "Vanessa," he whispered, his voice a calm yet haunting echo in the stillness. "The mask can fall away. There's no need for pretense in my presence." The moment he uttered my name, stripped of all formalities, an electric shiver coursed through my veins, igniting a tension that hung thick in the air. "I can't," I whispered, my voice barely escaping my lips, trembling with the weight of the unspoken truth that hung in the air like a dark cloud, threatening to engulf me. "You can," he countered, his gaze piercing through the air, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. The weight of the unspoken truth hangs heavy in the air, a palpable tension that binds us. I felt it, deep within, a stirring that echoes your own silent acknowledgement. In that moment, I ceased all thoughts, casting aside the weight of consequences that loomed like shadows in the dark. A thrilling silence enveloped me, as if the world held its breath, waiting for what would come next. I leaned in, and in that charged moment, he met me halfway, the air thick with unspoken tension. As our lips met, the weight of unspoken emotions poured out, rushing through us like a flood held back for far too long, drowning us in a wave of fervent passion. His touch, both grounding and unexpected, stirred something deep within me, a spark I thought had faded with time. For weeks, our clandestine affair unfolded, each stolen moment a pulse-quickening thrill, every secret glance igniting a fire that threatened to consume us. With each encounter, the stakes grew higher, the danger more intoxicating, as we danced on the edge of discovery, reckless and alive. Yet, the shadows of hidden truths have an uncanny ability to emerge from the depths. As twilight descended, casting shadows that danced across the room, my husband stumbled upon a chilling sight: Logan's hoodie, ominously draped over a dining chair, whispering secrets of a presence that lingered just beyond the edge of our understanding. Could it be that Logan left this behind, a silent echo of his presence lingering in the shadows? Tom inquired with an air of nonchalance. Yet beneath the surface, a tension crackled, hinting at the weight of unspoken truths. Indeed, the words escaped my lips in a rush, my heart pounding fiercely in my chest. He must have forgotten it, an oversight that could unravel everything. He narrowed his eyes, a storm brewing within, yet he chose to hold his tongue, the tension thickening in the air around him. The final blow struck with a chilling inevitability, mere days later, leaving a haunting silence in its wake. Just as the tension in the air reached its peak, Tom stepped into the kitchen, his presence shattering the fragile moment, Logan's hand lingering dangerously close to mine. What in the world is happening? A heavy hush enveloped the room, as if the very air held its breath, waiting for the next heartbeat to shatter the stillness. Aiden stood in the doorway, a storm of confusion swirling in his eyes. What is unfolding before our very eyes? Tom pivoted, his voice slicing through the air like a knife. How deeply have you truly delved into the depths of your friend's soul? In that fleeting moment, the very fabric of reality began to unravel, threads of fate slipping through fingers like sand, leaving only uncertainty in their wake. Aiden erupted from the room, his heart shattered into a million pieces. Logan turned away, the weight of his shame crashing down upon him, extinguishing the flicker of confidence that once burned brightly within. In the dim light of the kitchen, Tom and I stood frozen, the heavy silence thick with the suffocating tension of my betrayal, an unspoken truth hanging like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its fury. The weeks that followed descended into a relentless nightmare. Aiden turned away, his silence a heavy shroud between us, thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension. With a heavy heart and a mind swirling with uncertainty, Tom stepped into the guest room, the air thick with unspoken tension. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering secrets of the past as he closed the door behind him, sealing himself away from the world outside. What awaited him in this unfamiliar space? The silence was deafening, and the weight of his decision hung like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its fury at any moment. Logan vanished, leaving an unsettling void in our existence. Some mistakes linger in the shadows, haunting the corridors of time, forever etched in the fabric of fate, impossible to erase. Months have slipped away, yet I remain ensnared by the haunting grip of a single, fateful moment of weakness. My marriage teeters on the brink of collapse, and the bond with Aiden hangs in the balance, shrouded in uncertainty and despair. Logan? He has left it all behind, stepping into a new chapter, leaving shadows of the past to linger in the air. Our eyes met for a fleeting moment, a silent exchange that crackled with unspoken tension. Yet the words that could have bridged the chasm between us remained locked away, unuttered. For years, Aiden had been more than just a friend to my son Tom. He was a constant presence, a shadow that lingered in our home. They would often retreat to the garage, where the air was thick with ambition and sweat, or dive into the depths of our backyard pool, laughter echoing like a haunting melody. But beneath the surface of their camaraderie, an unsettling tension simmered, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. He was a striking figure, exuding confidence and athleticism, and despite my desperate attempts to push the feelings aside, I found myself ensnared by the magnetic pull he had over me whenever he entered the room. Days morphed into weeks, and no matter how hard I tried to suppress my emotions, the air between us crackled with an intensity that threatened to ignite at any moment. Every brief touch seemed to carry meaning, and each glance felt loaded with things left unsaid, and every seemingly harmless conversation dripped with unspoken tension, as if the air itself was charged with anticipation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city, Tom eagerly anticipated the night ahead, filled with laughter and camaraderie. Meanwhile, Daniel found himself ensnared in the relentless grip of his job, the clock ticking ominously as he toiled away, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the office walls. Aiden lingered after dinner, his eyes darting around the dimly lit room, as if the shadows held secrets he was desperate to uncover. He feigned nonchalance, insisting he wasn't in a rush to return home, but the tension in the air crackled like electricity, hinting at an unspoken urgency that loomed just beneath the surface. The kitchen was quiet, the air thick with tension, when he suddenly appeared, his presence enveloping the room like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. "Are you all right?" He leaned against the counter, a shadow of uncertainty flickering in his eyes, as he asked the question that hung heavy in the air. I nodded, the movement almost frantic, as if the weight of the moment pressed down upon me, urging me to agree before the silence swallowed us whole. Exhaustion clings to me like a shadow, a relentless weight that drains every ounce of energy. I am weary, caught in a web of fatigue that tightens with each passing moment. "You've seemed off lately," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, laden with an unsettling tension. As if the weight of the world rests upon your shoulders, each step a struggle against the crushing burden that threatens to pull you down into the abyss. My heart raced as I clutched the cold, unforgiving edge of the sink, uncertainty coursing through me like a dark tide. Life unfolds in a labyrinth of complexities, each twist and turn shrouded in uncertainty. As Aiden advanced, an electric tension filled the air, and my breath caught in my throat, a silent gasp echoing the weight of the moment. It need not be so. His fingers grazed my skin, igniting a surge of electricity that coursed through my veins, leaving me breathless and on edge. I should have turned back, but the pull was too strong, too intoxicating. The shadows whispered warnings, yet I remained, teetering on the edge of a precipice I could not see. What awaited me was a darkness I could never have anticipated. I should have commanded him to go, to vanish from my life before it was too late. Yet, in that moment, I chose to confront him directly. "Aiden," I began, my voice trembling like a fragile leaf caught in a tempest. Silence hung in the air, thick and palpable, as his gaze pierced through the tension. Words were unnecessary. The weight of unspoken truths loomed large between them, a storm ready to break. The gaze in his eyes reflected the turmoil I had fought so hard to bury deep within me. In a fleeting moment of vulnerability, I shattered the vow I had sworn to uphold, crossing a line that once felt unbreakable. The days that ensued plunged into a perilous haze, each moment fraught with uncertainty and tension. We treaded lightly, seizing fleeting moments in the shadows, where Tom's presence could not reach us. Each encounter was a whirlwind of urgency, brief yet electrifying, igniting a fire that threatened to consume us both. Yet, despite our meticulous efforts to cloak the truth, the shadows of our secrets loomed larger, threatening to unravel everything we held dear. The first crack echoed ominously through the silence when Daniel began to probe with his relentless questions. "Aiden has been lurking in the shadows more often these days," he remarked one fateful evening over dinner, his voice nonchalant yet his gaze pierced through the air like a blade. Tom's shoulders lifted in a fleeting gesture, a silent acknowledgement of the weight of the moment hanging in the air. "Indeed, he finds a strange comfort in this place, as if it holds secrets waiting to be uncovered." Daniel's gaze pierced through the shadows, locking onto me with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. "Do you truly believe that's not peculiar?" I stifled a laugh, masking the tension that hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. "He's more than just a friend. He's woven into the very fabric of our lives, a shadow that lingers in every corner of our shared history." Yet the seed of doubt had been sown. In that fateful moment, the unimaginable unfolded before their eyes, plunging them into a darkness they could never have anticipated. As the shadows deepened and the clock ticked ominously, Aiden and I found ourselves alone in the living room, the air thick with unspoken tension. Though I tried to resist, one moment broke through the walls I'd built, leaving me vulnerable and lost, leaving me vulnerable and ensnared in a web of desire once more. In the stillness of the night, an unseen force breached the threshold. Yet neither of us sensed the ominous creak of the front door swinging wide. "Mom," Tom's voice pierced the air like a gunshot, leaving us paralyzed in a moment of sheer terror. He lingered in the doorway, his complexion ghostly, eyes brimming with the raw sting of betrayal. The room was thick with an oppressive silence, each heartbeat echoing like a distant thunderclap, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable storm to break. Aiden recoiled, his heart racing, but the irreversible consequences had already taken hold. Tom's face contorted, the initial shock giving way to a deep, unsettling disgust that twisted his features into a mask of horror. "Can you believe this? It's utterly unbelievable." His voice trembled on the edge of fury, barely held in check, a storm brewing beneath the surface. "Tom, I beg you." With each deliberate step, I drew closer to him, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. "Don't," he spat, his voice laced with a chilling intensity. "Stop right there." With a desperate gasp, Aiden attempted to voice his thoughts, but before he could utter a single word, Tom pivoted sharply, his gaze piercing and filled with an unsettling intensity. "In the shadows of our shared moments, you stand as my unwavering ally, the one who knows my secrets and fears. Our bond, forged in the fires of trust, is a lifeline in a world fraught with uncertainty. Together, we navigate the treacherous paths of life, each step echoing with the weight of our unbreakable connection." His voice shattered like glass, laced with an intensity that simmered with unbridled fury. "How could you do this?" The next few minutes erupted into a cacophony of frantic voices, each shout echoing with urgency and dread. Tom charged up the stairs, his fury palpable as he slammed his bedroom door with a force that reverberated through the very walls, echoing his inner turmoil. Aiden stood paralyzed, a storm of guilt raging within him, his face a canvas of torment. Then, as if summoned by fate, Daniel stepped into the room, the air thick with anticipation. "What in the name of all that is sacred is happening here?" he demanded, his voice laced with urgency. Without a moment's hesitation, Aiden plunged into the unknown, leaving the question hanging in the air like a ghost, unanswered and haunting. With a hushed whisper, he uttered a few cryptic words about departure before he surged through the door, leaving a whirlwind of uncertainty in his wake. Daniel turned to me, his expression a mask of shadows, concealing the tempest brewing beneath the surface. "Olivia?" My heart thundered in my chest, each beat echoing like a warning bell in the stillness of the night. My marriage hangs by a thread, and the bond with my son teeters on the edge of despair. All was poised on the brink of disaster, teetering on the edge of an abyss. "I cannot." His voice sliced through the air like ice, each word dripping with a chilling intensity, while his jaw tightened, a silent storm brewing beneath the surface. "Unveil the truth to me, for I stand on the precipice of revelation, yearning for the shadows to part and the light of honesty to pierce through the darkness." In an instant, the very foundation of my existence crumbled, leaving me in a whirlwind of chaos and uncertainty. In the haunting silence that followed, Tom turned his back on Aiden, sealing their fate with an unbreakable silence that echoed through the corridors of their shared past. My son departed shortly thereafter, his gaze forever altered, a chasm of unspoken words lingering between us. In a heart-stopping twist of fate, Daniel filed for divorce mere weeks later, and in an instant, the carefully constructed life I had known shattered into a million irretrievable pieces. Aiden's desperate attempts to connect echoed in the silence, but I turned away, shrouded in a veil of indifference. What we shared was a mere illusion, a facade that masked the truth. It was not love. It was something far more dangerous, a tempest brewing beneath the surface, waiting to unleash chaos at any moment. It was a grave error, one that would haunt the shadows of the mind, echoing with the weight of consequences yet to unfold. A choice that demanded the ultimate price, leaving me with nothing but shadows of what once was. Now I dwell in a solitary house, shrouded in silence, each corner echoing with the weight of my regrets, tormented by the shadows of the choices I once made. There are lines drawn in the shadows of fate, and once they are crossed, the echoes of that moment reverberate through eternity, leaving no room for redemption. If this tale has ensnared your senses, be sure to like and subscribe for more heart-pounding and soul-stirring narratives that will leave you breathless. In the end, it wasn't just the lies we told others. It was the ones we whispered to ourselves in the dark. The ones we clung to just to feel something. What I did, it tore apart the very foundation of who I thought I was. But in that chaos, in that betrayal, I also saw the truth. Sometimes, it's not love that leads us astray. It's loneliness, neglect, the ache to be seen. Have you ever done something you couldn't explain? Not because it was right, but because it filled a silence inside you? Tell me, would you have walked away? Or would you have stayed when someone whispered, "Please, not yet"? I'd love to know your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Subscribe to Vows and Betrayals and tap the bell, because every day, a new story unfolds, and some truths, they don't whisper, they scream.